Those who refuse the gift of eternal life are condemned to wander in the darkness of eternal night. Coming this fall from SJS Direct. Yesterday, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away at 87 years old. And while many in social circles, political circles, and even entertainment circles are mourning the passing of the second female Supreme Court Justice and a feminist icon, others are thinking about the future of the court and the interpretation of the law for the next 2 to 3 generations. And it's those who are thinking about the future of the Supreme Court that are scared because President Donald Trump will now be able to pick a third Supreme Court Justice, and this may change the interpretation of the law from a liberal perspective to a more conservative one. Now, your Ruth Bader Ginsburg had been doing her best to hold on to her Supreme Court justiceship, even in the face of dealing with cancer out of fear of the Trump presidency changing the complexity of the court. Unfortunately, Ruth Bader Ginsburg succumbed to the cancer that was ravaging her body, and sadly, she passed away, not able to hold on to the seat until the next election was over. And your Ruth Bader Ginsburg gave a request to your President Trump that he not fill the Supreme Court seat until the next election. And unfortunately, your Donald Trump doesn't seem to want to regard the wishes of the passing Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, I find that to be quite troubling that you have a president and a Senate leader, Mitch McConnell, not willing to wish to honor the wishes of the dead, and that may wind up biting them in the backside, I believe, possibly in the future, because when you don't honor the wishes of the dead, you sometimes reap what you sow, and karma may come back to you. However, when I look at this whole situation from a panoramic perspective, I can see how a lot of people think that this situation is so dire. And there are some woke types out there who actually do see this situation as extremely dire, and they have taken to the streets and social media to express how hopeless they believe the situation is as related to the passing of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, what I find to be quite interesting about these woke types, such as your so-called SJWs, your feminists, your Black Lives Matter, and people who are a part of the Antifa movement, is that all of these people, they have the energy to get up and take to the streets to mourn the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but they have no real interest in honoring Ruth Bader Ginsburg by doing something like voting in the 2020 election. Because as I see it, if you can go out here and take to the streets to complain about things being so-called over for democracy, then you can get out here and fight for your so-called democracy by going out here and exercising the rights given to you by your United States Constitution. If you are so passionate about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and you are so passionate to protect the country from the ravages of a Donald Trump, then these people need to stop marching and protesting in the streets, and they need to go out here and register to vote and head to the polls on November 3rd. That's what people need to do, because if you can go out here and go to a protest, then you can go out here to vote, because the same conditions that are out here for masses to stand outside in the street to talk about how that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is passed and how democracy is over, when you can stand out here in a crowd like that with no social distancing, then you can stand in line at those polls and cast your vote against Donald Trump to fight against his so-called tyranny. That's what you can do, but man, that flies over the heads of many of these woke types, that flies over the heads of many of these social justice warriors, these feminists and members of Black Lives Matter. Many of these same people, they will sit there and go to a protest against Donald Trump, expressing all of their anger and vitriol, but they won't take that same passion down to a polling place and cast a ballot. And that was one of the troubling things about the 2016 election, that when I was watching the news after Donald Trump got elected, a lot of reporters started asking many of these people who protested against Donald Trump, they asked them, did they vote in the 2016 election? And the response was emphatically no. So I find it interesting that these people will go out in the streets to protest Donald Trump, but they didn't cast any votes for Hillary Clinton in 2016. And I don't know if they will cast any votes for Joe Biden in 2020. Now, what I also find to be quite interesting in the aftermath of the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and all of these people speaking desperately about, oh, how things have changed and how bad things will be in the Trump presidency, is that if the situation is so dire, then I have to ask the critical question, why aren't Joe Biden and Kamala Harris offering tangibles to black people? Because if this situation is so desperate and so dire with the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, then you would think it would be time to go out here and start making efforts to offer true tangibles to black people and make efforts to try to secure that black vote. However, we don't see that type of effort made by your Joe Biden or your Kamala Harris as related to the black vote. We don't see anybody making efforts to go to black people and offer real hard tangibles to black people, like reparations for the institution of slavery and to correct past and ongoing discrimination. And we don't see tangibles being offered to black people, such as policy to punish rogue police officers, these race soldiers known as Klansmen who have infiltrated law enforcement, and to deal with these suburban commandos who terrorize black people, and efforts to deal with the Pookies and Ray Rays who terrorize black neighborhoods. We don't see a comprehensive plan to deal with these sort of policies and give black people tangibles, nor do we see efforts to give black men actual tangibles that will give them economic empowerment, employment, and give them access to an economic base that will enable them to build a strong black community and build stronger black families. No, what we get from the left is a paternalistic response when things like the Lift Every Voice program, which really does nothing for black people, especially black men. And again, you would think if these people were so desperate, if things were so dire, and things were so hopeless, that they would go out here and start offering tangibles to black people. That's what you would think your left would be offering in the aftermath of the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You think they would be developing a strategy to offer black voters tangibles so that they can secure a black voting base and a black voting bloc that will come out in force. Unfortunately, they still continue to take the black vote for granted, even though polls are now showing more and more black men looking to support Trump, and even more bases like Hispanics looking to support Trump. And while the left has gone out here to support Hispanics in large numbers, they have made no effort to court black voters. And it seems like they're making the same mistake they made in 2016 again, taking the black voting bloc for granted and not appreciating the black vote. A black vote that was disillusioned by the policies of Barack Obama, and those policies are the thing that alienated and disillusioned black voters and led to them staying home in 2016. And the thing that really angered a lot of black voters was the fact that they couldn't get the tangible of justice in the aftermath of the murder of Trayvon Martin. And the great irony is that everybody talks about how Donald Trump is so dangerous, but they don't understand that Barack Obama created Donald Trump when he didn't do anything about George Zimmerman, because had he had his attorney general file those civil rights charges against George Zimmerman, we wouldn't have Donald Trump in the White House today. And people still keep saying, oh, Donald Trump is so dangerous, and I will agree that he is so dangerous, but if he is a clear and present danger, then why aren't people looking to offer black voters tangibles, and why aren't many of these people who are taking to the streets going out here and making plans to be at a polling place on November 3rd? When I look at the actions, they really don't match the words, and again, a lot of them sit there and talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg passing away being the end of democracy, but they just don't understand the first three words of the U.S. Constitution. And the first three words of the U.S. Constitution are "we the people," and sadly, many of the woke types who went to college don't understand that as we the people, you have been given a right to vote, and if you really want to protect and preserve your democracy, you're going to go out here and exercise that right to vote. And if these candidates want black people to go out here and exercise their right to vote and have a motivation to exercise their right to vote, then they're going to have to offer some tangibles on the table. Because if you want to be able to preserve your Supreme Court, if you want to be able to preserve your Congress, if you want to be able to preserve your Senate, you're going to have to go out here and start bringing something to the table other than an empty suit and empty promises. You're going to have to bring tangibles to black voters and start valuing the black voting bloc, because for too long the black voting bloc was taken for granted. They fell for the Barack Obama okie doke, and now they're tired of falling for okie dokes. Now they want tangibles, because if we don't get tangibles, then we have no reason to come out on November 3rd and vote for any candidate. And that's what we really don't have an incentive to do, because there are no tangibles on the table. So you have all of this talk about how desperate things are, but that's all words, because when we look at the actions, we don't see the efforts made to offer black voters tangibles, because as a registered voter, I'm not seeing any reason to go out here and vote for any candidate, because no candidate is really bringing any tangibles to this black voter that show him that these people are going to improve my quality of life by bringing tangibles to the table. You can talk about how bad Donald Trump is, but if you don't bring any tangibles to the table, nobody has an incentive to get up on November 3rd and vote against this man. If you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my books, you can head over to Amazon.com, where they are sold in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them on Smashwords, Google Play, and Gumroad.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and Kindle this fall, E-Steam Blast from the Past, Hell's aspiring angel takes on her demonic doppelganger in this time-traveling, action-packed E-Steam series adventure. Pre-order your copy of E-Steam Blast from the Past.